A very good morning, dear children, and welcome back to my English class. Well, today we shall continue with yet more topics, and especially today, what we shall deal with that is how to change a direct speech which is there in the form of an interrogative sentences into an indirect speech. So, in reporting a question in an indirect speech, you need to take care of few things. Okay, so let us start one by one. Now, the first thing I'll be talking about precisely three things. So the very first thing is that the introductory verb is changed to asked, or it can be enquired, or it can be, say, demanded. All right. It can be asked, enquired, or demanded. Then, besides these, there are few more words which can be used. Words like, let me first rub these. Yeah. Words like, say, wondered, they can be used. Then, wanted to know. This can be also used. Then, these wondered, wanted to know, and demanded, these precisely can be used on when you know whether these words are apt or not. Okay, so actually it depends upon the nature of the sentence. If the sentence demands that these reporting verbs to be used, please do not hesitate to use them. Otherwise, all the times, maximum number of times, you would be using asked, enquired. Now, second thing, when you are changing direct speech into an indirect in this interrogative sentences, no need to put a question mark. You will not put a question mark. No question mark, no question mark needed. Okay. Now, the third thing. The third thing is that um, you have to use two things, WHETHER, whether, or it can be if. Now, the question is, when do we use whether or if? All right. Whether or if is used after such introductory verb wherever the direct question admits of one of the two answers. Supposing if there is the answer in maybe positive or negative, thereby you will use these whether, or you can use if. For example, if I say, he said to me, do you know the way? That means my answer can be yes, I know the way, or it can be no, I don't know the way, isn't it? Please try and understand this. Now, as I'm, talking about this if then, those who have been doing computers, you all must be knowing that there is a proper use of a decision box, isn't it? You have that diagonal kite shaped box in your flow chart, isn't it? So when do we use that? If then, isn't it, for that if then purpose? Now, when I'm using these if then, so that means what? I would be getting the answer either in positive or in a negative, isn't it? So, thereby, in such circumstances, I shall use these words, that is whether, or I can also use if. Now, the example which I was talking about was, he said to me, "Do you know the way?" So it can be, yes, I do know the way, or it can be, no, sorry, I don't know the way, isn't it? So thereby, how will I write? I will write, he inquired of me, whether I knew the way. Okay, so he inquired means he asked from me whether I knew the way. That instead of, asked from me, it should be he inquired from me if I knew the way. Right? Okay. Now let me give you an example wherein I will be using whether, so that, it becomes a little bit easier. He said to us, "Will you listen to such a fool? Will you listen to such a fool?" He said to us. So, thereby, I will say, he asked us whether we would listen to such a fool. Whether we would listen to such a fool. So, generally, just this is just my way of keeping things, making things easier. Supposing if I generally have a question that starts with do, so thereby I tend to prefer if. Okay. And if I find the questions they start with will, so thereby I prefer the usage of whether. So you need to really study the nature of the questions which are asked, and accordingly you will have to choose the reporting verb. Okay, so that was it. Now let's see what next do we have. Do remember that we need to keep in mind the tone of the question and the sentiment of the speaker. That is very important. Okay, when we change one direct into an indirect speech. Now, supposing if, this is there in your books, page number 161, look at that example towards the end of that page. My friend said, "Would you like to go for a walk?" There are precisely two parts in this whole example. Then the reply is, I said no. Okay. So there, how would I change it into an indirect speech? I would say, my friend asked me whether I would like to go for a walk. That is the first part sorted out. Okay. Now, I said no. So thereby, how do I do? I would say, I replied that I would not. So you will not, write the whole sentence that I would not go for a walk. No. You will just say, I replied that I would not. Full stop. That's all. Okay. So that is the end of the sentence. No need to write, or rather, I should say, no need to repeat. Okay. Now, I believe these are the few, do's and the don'ts for the question type of sentences. Please remember to use the reported verb asked, inquired, demanded, wondered, or wanted to know. Then remember that, there is no need to just put a question mark, because the indirect speech doesn't remain as an interrogative sentence, rather it becomes a statement. Then the third thing, don't forget to use whether or if, wherein you have the direct speech starting with will, or if it is, do. Okay, so these things are essential things for the question. Let me write it here. Question form. Okay. Question form of direct speech. Direct speech. All right. So after this, you have an exercise. That exercise needs to be, done in the book. I can see there are, I'll show you. Look, so you have set of 10 questions. These are to be done in your books itself in a very neat handwriting. All right. Now, as you can see, the next topic here is imperatives. Okay, so we shall start our imperatives. Now, let me just rub this. I hope by now you must have, written down, isn't it? So let me quickly do the imperatives. Okay, what are imperative sentences? Imperatives, I believe everybody remembers. Imperative, imperative form of direct speech. Okay, so DS, I have just, shortened it for direct speech. Okay, so in an imperative sentence, you will have, say, you might come across a command, order, you might come across request, you might come across suggestions, advices and all. Okay, so you can have recommendations. These are very much, synonymous. So these are precisely, the imperative forms, I would say. Okay, so let's see how we change. Now, the reporting verb here becomes what? The reporting verb here becomes ordered, requested, or advised. Okay, so let me write it. The reporting verbs, they become ordered, then you have requested, and it can be advised. Okay, so these are the main, reporting verbs which can be used. And at times it is also, you would find, say, invited. You might find reporting verbs as urged. You might find reminded. Then you might find encouraged. Okay. So besides these basic three reporting verbs, you might come across invited, urged, reminded, encouraged. Also, maybe say recommended or warned. Supposing if the sentence is something like giving a warning, so thereby it will be warned. And then, as I had written here, recommendations. So if you find some kind of recommendations or reference being given, so thereby it will be recommended. Okay, so I can write it here only. Recommended. Okay, let me put these stick notes here. So you see, these are my stick notes. They are so helpful. They help me a lot in remembering things. These are about the prepositions which I dealt with. Okay. So these are the basic reporting verbs for the imperative nature of the direct speeches when they are changed into an indirect. All right. So you just need to remember exactly when these reporting verbs are to be used. Okay. Like if it is, I said to my friend, could you make me a cup of coffee? So, which reporting verb will it be used? It will be, Uh, I requested my friend to make me a cup of coffee. Now, if the question says the teacher said to the students, you must complete the work right now. So, thereby, what is the teacher doing? The teacher is ordering. So, it will be the teacher ordered the students to complete their work right now. All right. So, right now will be uh, if you write right now, so that will be incorrect. Why incorrect? Remember, I had told you. Now will change into what? Then. So, half mark will be cut if you don't remember this. Okay. So, do remember that. Now, supposing, just let me give you few more examples. Then it will be very clear. Supposing if I say, he said to the students, do not make a noise. So it will be, he forbade the students to make a noise. He forbade. Now, why did I use forbade? Forbade means what? To abstain, to stop somebody, to tell somebody not to do something, isn't it?